You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast, the hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. Chris Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. When the Iron Lady sings it, that means it's official. Welcome to Big Show. We certainly appreciate you guys being here and being a part of the Chris Voss Show. For 15 years, we bring you the smartest people on the planet, the CEOs, the billionaires, the White House presidential advisors, governors, Congress members, ambassadors, astronauts, Pulitzer Prize winners, people who spent a lifetime researching their trade and spending tens of thousands, millions of hours condensing it all into wonderful knowledge to deliver to you in the concise little shop that we call the Chris Voss Show podcast. And in it, you walk away listening to these amazing shows with a Chris Voss Show glow. There you go. It's just like the knowledge just flows off you. It's like an aura, the Chris Voss Show aura. And when people see you, they go, that person's something special. Because the host is something special, and that's why I rode the short bus as a child. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. Refer the show to your family, friends, and relatives. Go to Chris Voss, YouTube.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss. If you haven't joined us on LinkedIn.com, you need to join the LinkedIn newsletter over there. It grows like a weed. And then the big 130,000 LinkedIn group over there as well. Chris Voss, one of the Tickety Talkety, and ChrisVossFacebook.com. We had an amazing gentleman on the show. He's a multi-book author. Leigh joins us on the show today. His newest book is hot off the presses, November 23rd, 2023. It's called Eliminating Adult Acne for Good. Regain your self-esteem and confidence without wasting money on ineffective and harmful products. He's going to be talking to us about that and some of his other techniques. He is a functional medicine and CHEK practitioner. We're going to find out what that is. So we're going to learn a lot about health and fitness today. He began working in the health and fitness industry in 1996. From 2001 to 2007, he trained at the CHEK Institute, becoming a proficient in integrated movement science, nutrition, and holistic lifestyle coaching. The training helped him go on to help people with many sports injuries and pain syndromes, skin conditions, and gut problems after many other modalities had failed. Since 2010, he's been a member of the CHEK Institute faculty, actually teaching in Europe, Australia, North America, as well as creating new content for the Institute. He's the author of 4 books on health and fitness, and he hosts the Radical Health Rebel podcast, helping educate the public to enable them to lead a more fun-filled, productive, fulfilling, and happy life. Welcome to the show. Leigh, how are you?
I'm great, Chris, and thanks for having me on the show.
Thanks for coming. It's great to have you. Give us your .coms. Where do you want people to find you on the interwebs?
So skinwebinar.com, especially if people are suffering from acne, but everything else, it's bodycheck, spelled BODYCHEK.co.uk.
There you go. And what does the CHEK stand for? Is that just a name, or does it refer to a holistic or health thing?
It's both. So it was established by a guy called Paul CHEK, a Californian, but it also stands for Corrective Holistic Exercise Kinesiology.
Ah, there you go. There you go. I'm going to pretend that I know what kinesiology is. Go ahead and tell us what that means for those who are as dumb as I am.
There's 2 meanings to kinesiology. The meaning in the CHEK acronym. So kinesiology is the study of human movement. So, but there's also applied kinesiology, which is used, it's generally called muscle testing, or at least muscle testing is a tool that's used to get yes/no answers from a person's body. So it's normally working at the subconscious level. So kinesiologists, what they do is they will work with a client and ask the client's subconscious, for want of a better phrase, questions that their body can give them answers to. So for instance, it might be what vitamins or minerals are they lacking in, or what foods are they sensitive to, and things like that.
Oh,
So
really?
so kinesiology's got a double meaning.
Oh, wow. There you go. And my if you ask my body what's lacking, it's like brain cells. So there you go. Give us this new book that you put out. You're
Mm,
helping adults overcome adult acne. I was always surprised that when you get older, you can still have acne. I'm like, I thought we got over this in our teens. I thought this was like a teen
mm.
thing. Give us a 30,000 overview. What's inside your book?
So I talk quite a bit about my own experience. So I suffered from acne from the age of 13 to 31. So in terms of what you were saying, yes, adults definitely can suffer from acne. I've had people in their 50s
Hmm.
with acne. So I talk about my own experience, and going through school was hard enough. You know what it's like at school. I mean, luckily for me, I was quite good at sport. I was quite good at academics.
Mhm.
But when you got a face full of acne, um, you know, when you're at school, you always get a nickname, right? Everyone gets their nickname. So I could rattle off a few of my old classmates, but my nickname was Zit, right? So
Really?
yeah, my
Well, that's mean.
yeah.
It's evil. It's not right.
So my skin was so bad that became my nickname at school.
Wow.
But you kind of, as a teenager, it's bad enough. But then as you get older, you start to think, well, it should just go away, because I'm now approaching my late teens, maybe my early 20s, and you're thinking, well, this should be gone by now. And then you get into early 20s, and you start getting into relationships. That becomes tricky when you got a face full of acne.
Mhm.
Even going for jobs, you can turn up for a job interview, and first of all, your confidence isn't great if your skin's really bad.
Oh, wow.
But what I found was, and whether this is just my own perception or whether it was reality, I always felt that people would look at me like a teenager, even when I was older, because I had acne, and they
Ah.
wouldn't take me seriously. So even though I was very confident, turning up that I could do a particular job, the
Mhm.
people interviewing me were just not seeing through the acne. It was like, well, this guy's just a teenager, so I'm not even going to consider him.
Wow.
So, it caused me a lot of, emotional stress,
Yeah.
but it also cost me financially, I believe. And not
Mhm.
just from lost jobs, although that was probably the biggest financial loss, but the years and years of taking medication that wasn't working. So when I first went to see my GP, so my mother took me, I was 13 years old, and he put me on a cream and a cleanser, and they didn't work.
Mm.
So I went back, and he said, okay, well, now I'll put you on an antibiotic, and it worked.
Oh, really?
So I thought, great, excellent. And then 6 weeks later, the acne came back,
Oh, no.
and it came back worse. So after a while, you go back to the doctor, and he says, well, if that antibiotic isn't working, I'll give you another one. And that was my story for the next 18 years.
18 years of being on
18
an
years.
antibiotic.
Yeah,
Wow.
which is not good.
Yeah.
Um, if your life's in danger, antibiotics are an amazing thing. But
Yeah.
if your life's not in danger, then they're not so great.
Yeah.
So so I talk about my story,
Mhm.
and I'm sure my story is pretty similar to the people that I've worked with. The main things that people suffer from is a lack of self-esteem, lack of confidence. It's
Yeah.
it's not a nice thing to have. So the other thing that I talk about as well. So there's a chapter in the book called "The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly," and I go through all the pharmaceutical approaches to acne, which is the only things that really people have access to if they go to their medical doctor or they go to their dermatologist.
Mhm.
And I go through, and I list what the good things about them are, i.e., what they do for acne.
Mhm.
Sadly, that list isn't particularly long. The bad is the side effects that you get from those medications, and some of them are um, breast cancer, liver
Really?
failure, kidney
Oh,
failure, suicide. And I don't know about you, but I feel acne is probably better than all of those,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Because at
definitely.
least you're still alive. You still got a chance to put your acne right. So the ugly side is really I suppose, and it's probably come quite a lot more to light in the last few years, but really let's call it corruption of the medical pharmaceutical industry. You know, people say to me, well, if they're that dangerous, why are they allowed to be used? And there's one simple answer to that question: money. Right.
Ah.
And again, in the book, I show there the regulatory agencies of each of the countries, the medical regulatory agencies, and I show how much of their income comes directly from the pharmaceutical industry.
Mm-hmm.
And it's frightening. You know, it really is a case of, you know, the fox looking after the chicken coop. So that's that chapter. And I go into quite a lot of detail about all of the side effects. And the side effects actually come from the UK's National Health Service website. So it's not like I'm making this up or anything like that. This is, you know, out in the open.
And we've seen a lot of that with a lot of different drugs and out there. You know, there was the Oxycontin things and different things like that. Give us a 30,000 overview of your life. Tell us about your journey, and you know, you've written several books. Let's get a plug in for those, and what got you interested in these modalities and health.
So my initial interest, I guess, if you want to go back far enough, is as far as I can remember, I was absolutely sports mad as a young child. Neither of my parents were, as most English lads are, crazy about soccer, as you call it. We don't call it soccer, but we know what that is. And all through my school days, I was just crazy about sport. So when I first left school, I got office job after office job, and I was never really satisfied. And then in the 90s, this profession came around, personal trainer. And I thought, wow, really? I can make a living helping people get fit in a gym. I was like, wow, this is like my dream. So that was the start of my journey back in the 90s. But then the more I learned, the more I realized I didn't know. So I would always be looking to learn new things all the time. So I've studied lots of different areas, from, you know, exercise, nutrition, lifestyle, you know, deep tissue therapy, energy medicine. You know, I've studied a lot of different areas, but it really, I suppose, started with my love of sport and I guess probably not being good enough to be professional at sport. You know, it's the kind of the closest I could have got to it. So over the years, what I've done is, so obviously I had acne issues myself, so I like helping people that are going through the same problem. I also have had a number of sports injuries. So I had a minor tear of my anterior cruciate ligament. I've had what's called a subacromial impingement twice in my shoulder, because I play a lot of tennis. And 10 years ago, I ruptured my L4-5 and L5-S1 lumbar discs, which put me out of action for 22 months.
Wow.
So what I now do is I really focus on helping the kind of people who have the same problems that I used to have. So the other thing that I had myself, having had antibiotics for 18 years, was that I also had gut issues.
Yeah.
So
that'll do it, because the antibiotics killed the gut microbes in your
absolutely
gut.
Absolutely. So what I do now is I mainly work with people with skin conditions, and within that would be mainly eczema and acne. I work with people with gut conditions, whether it's, you know, IBS type symptoms, you know, constipation, diarrhea, bloating, something called SIBO, so small intestinal bacterial overgrowth.
Really?
Which is quite common.
Oh, wow.
And sports injuries. So that's what I tend to do in my work. And, you know, my passion to help people, I guess, really comes from having the sympathy of having gone through those problems myself. So I can really connect with those people, because I know exactly how it feels and how much it negatively affects your life.
That will definitely do it. I never even heard of SIBO before. That's the first time I've heard it, but I'm looking at the Mayo Clinic, and small intestinal bacterial overgrowth occurs in small and abnormal increase in the overall bacterial production in the small intestine. Wow. You know, we've had a lot of people on the show that have talked about gut health, and more and more people are starting to figure out that a lot of stuff, you know, even brain swelling and stuff that goes on in your brain, it all comes from the gut. Like your gut's like your it's like a central source of everything, really, when it comes down to it.
Absolutely. And there is a chapter again in my book, Eliminating Adult Acne for Good, whereby, the chapter's called Balancing the Gut Skin Axis. Because, if there's an issue in the gut and the gut is what we call leaky or intestinal hyperpermeability, the contents from the gut can leak into the bloodstream and then can be released through the skin. So that's where you can have a toxic built up in the skin, and that's one of many causes of acne. So that's another issue as well. So I join on a number of Facebook groups, acne groups, to try and chip in whenever I can and kind of try and point people in the right direction. Although it can be difficult because a lot of the owners of the groups don't want you to give too much information away. But what I find is that people come into those groups asking for advice, but they're coming to the group with the wrong mindset. They're coming to the group saying, what product can I use? Or should I use this product? Or should I stop using this product? Well, if they've read chapter 2 of my book, they will know that the products aren't really going to get the job done, because what they're doing is they attempt to address the symptoms. But what they don't do, they don't address the root cause of the problem. So what I try and get across to people is that, if you're driving along in your car and you get an engine warning light come on your dashboard, what's that telling you?
Something's wrong.
It's telling you there's an issue with the engine, right? Well, the way that our medical paradigm is at the moment is that what most people do is they'll take a black piece of tape, cover over the engine warning light and say, everything's fine now because I can't see the light. Right?
Yeah, that's pretty much true. I'll deal with it next week.
Yeah. So, you're going to keep driving your car around until eventually the engine's going to blow up. Whereas what should you do? You should take note of the warning, take it to a mechanic, let the mechanic find the root cause of the problem, fix the problem. And then you drive your car out and the light's not on anymore, not because it's covered over, but because the root of the problem's been fixed.
Yeah,
So
that'll do it.
So the difference between that analogy and the way that I work is that I don't actually fix anybody. I teach them how to fix themselves.
And if you teach a person to fish with their health, I guess they keep their health for a long time to go.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There you go. Well, I'm glad you went on this journey. The gut health thing, does that also play an important role in acne?
Absolutely crucial. Yeah. So the one thing I mentioned, if you've got a leaky gut, that can lead to acne. But if you've got what we call dysbiosis, which is an imbalance of bacteria in the gut, there's a particular type of bacteria, and they give off a toxin called lipopolysaccharides. And again, if you've got a leaky gut, those toxins are going to end up in the bloodstream and try to be excreted through the skin, as well as other toxic kind of exit routes, if you like. But if someone's got a fungal infection in the gut, if they've got any kind of parasite infection like a worm or a fluke or anything like that, again, they're going to be giving off high levels of toxins, which can lead to acne. So the gut is absolutely crucial when it comes to acne. So if you just think putting stuff on your skin's going to solve the problem in the long term, it's quite a short-sighted kind of view, because unless your gut's healthy, your skin's not going to be healthy either.
And it's probably not going to make your gut any healthier taking penicillin or some sort of antibiotic.
Absolutely not.
Because that's just going to piss everything off even more. So really, acne is an indicator that there's something maybe more unhealthy going on than just washing your face every day with a washcloth, maybe.
Absolutely. I mean, when you look at the causes of acne, if they go unchecked, there are some the same causes, the same things that cause acne could potentially go on to cause things like heart disease and cancer.
Wow.
So the way that I try and educate people is to say, look, whatever symptom you have, whether it's acne or whether it's another symptom, what the symptom is there for, it's a way that your subconscious mind is trying to make your conscious mind aware that there's something not right in your body. So whether it's your skin's breaking out, or you can't have a bowel movement, or you've got pain in your elbow, or whatever it might be, symptoms are trying to wake you up and say, look, something's not right, something needs to be addressed. Now, for most people can't work out what that thing is, but that's where you need to find someone that can help you work out what that symptom is trying to tell you, rather than, well, let's just sweep that symptom under the carpet.
Yeah. You don't want to do that. You want to deal with the right stuff, because otherwise you just
Yeah.
make more problems for yourself and more side effects and everything else. So why is mindset important? Because you coach people and help them. Why is mindset important when overcoming acne?
Yeah. So I've touched on it a little bit. So, what I was saying earlier about, people often think, okay, what products do I need to put on my skin to clear my acne? So
Mhm.
that's the first side of it.
Mhm.
But the second side of it, and this is the case not just for acne, but for any health journey that someone's about to go on, is to get their mind in the right place. Because, and again, this comes from my 27 years of experience, it's very rarely that as a professional, I'll give someone advice to follow and
Mhm.
they say, okay, and they just go off and do it. And it's just not an issue.
Mhm.
What normally happens is I go off and I give them some advice and they go off and do it. And they might start off the first few weeks, they're doing well. All of a sudden, something in life happens and it's one step forward, two steps back.
Mhm.
So people need to have that mindset before they start, so that whenever they come across a bump in the road, it's not going to be a complete halt to their progress,
Yeah.
that they're ready for it. So some of the things that I talk about in the book is, and some of this is kind of simple things that a lot of people know about, but yet people still don't do it. Things like, setting clear goals,
Mhm.
setting core values. And again, I teach people how to set their core values around things like diet, exercise, sleep, etc.
Mhm.
But also, what I get people to do is I get them to sit down and I give them ideas on what these things could be. I get them to consider, okay, so what could get in the way of me doing the things that I need to do to achieve clear skin, or whatever it might be. So, some of the things that I've seen over the years with clients, that they'll come in for a session with me and I'll say, well, how did you get on from last week? And how was your diet? And they'll say, well, it was good, but we had a working lunch and all they had was sandwiches, or they got KFC and or whatever it might be, right?
Uh-huh.
And what they're saying is, rather than, oh, well, it wasn't my fault because of an external thing that happened, I say to them, okay, so what you're telling me is you weren't properly prepared for what was going to happen,
Ah.
right?
Uh.
So what I get them to do is I get them to consider, okay, so what things can happen like that, so that when they do happen, I've already got a plan. I've already got a plan in place. So
Mhm.
then with that scenario, I might say to them, right, okay, next time you've got a working lunch, what can you do to make sure that you're in control of what you're going to eat for that lunch?
Mhm.
And I'll let them come up with the solution. So they might say, well, I guess I could take my own lunch in. Great. There you go. We've solved that one. What's the next problem? Okay, because otherwise people have got excuses. But if they can override that excuse even before they get into that situation, there's no excuse to do the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Does that make
Definitely.
sense?
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, you've got tools, and
Yeah.
having the accountability partner as a coach
Yeah.
to help you stay in line can make all the difference for you as well, because that's
Absolutely.
kind of what you need. You need
Yeah.
somebody to help keep you honest, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing is you help with a few different things too. You help people overcome digestive issues,
Hmm.
chronic fatigue,
Hmm.
lower back pain, and shoulder pain, and knee pain. Tell us
Hmm.
about some of the services and offerings you do there on your website at Body Check.
Yeah. So generally, if someone wants to work with me, they need to commit to a 6-month program
Mhm.
for any of those. And the reason I say that is not because I want to take people's money off them. It's
Mhm.
it's because I want them to prove to me that they're committed to change. That's one thing. The other thing is, because it takes that long. So I'm not in the business of quick fixes, right? I'm not going to give you a pill and it's going to solve all your problems. As I said, I teach people how to fix their own problems. So I'll do a whole battery of assessments on people. So first of all, it will be, I get them to do a whole battery of questionnaires. So I can get a good idea of what's going on in their body and what the potential root cause or root causes of their issues are. So I'll get an overview of what's going on hormonally. And this is purely from questionnaires. You know, what's going on hormonally, what's going on psychologically, what previous trauma have they had in their life that might be playing a role. Yeah. What kind of physical history have they got? Have they had previous injuries, things like that? And then certainly for if people are coming in for injuries, then I will do a very thorough physical assessment. It takes me about 4 hours to do a physical assessment on someone. So I'm looking at the whole body. I'm looking at, you know, how much range of motion have they got in their joints? How much tension have they got in the muscles? I look at the positioning of the spine, the biomechanics of their jaw, their eyesight, their hearing, their balance. And then if I feel it's necessary, and this is different from person to person, but quite often I will also run lab tests on people as well. So that's the functional medicine side of it coming in. You know, I might run food sensitivity tests. I might run stool tests for their gut. I might run tests for their hormone levels. So it depends on the client. It depends on, you know, what's wrong with them. Heavy metal toxicity tests can be quite useful for some people, particularly with acne. So I've had a few clients where the cause was actually heavy metal toxicity. And as soon as we cleared those toxins out of the body, bang, the skin was just absolutely fine.
Wow.
So once I've got all the information, then it's a process of coaching through exercise, nutrition, lifestyle, looking at things like sleep, and also minimizing any kind of stress on the body, whether it be toxins, whether it be electromagnetic radiation, which is a real problem today. And then also coaching people through detox protocols, because yes, you can cut things out that are toxic, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the toxins that are stored deep in your cells are going to naturally just come out. That's just not the way it works for some toxins in the body. So there are a number of detox protocols that I might take someone through. There might be protocols also to help balance the gut microbiome. Perhaps in some people, I might do protocols to get rid of fungus in the body or to get rid of parasites in the gut. So it's a very holistic approach. Sometimes I do manual therapy on people. So I use a particular technique called active release techniques. So I studied in sport remedial massage therapy initially, but then soon as I learned active release techniques, I stopped doing massage completely because it's just such a fantastic technique. So I've got all these tools in my toolbox and I just pull out whichever tool is relevant at any particular time with any particular person.
There you go. And it sounds like you've got a lot going on. Some of your early books, let's get a plug in for them as well, too. Looks like you talk about anatomy of the body and different things.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So my first 3 books were all in a series of anatomy books, but they had a theme to them. So one was on sports conditioning, one was on yoga, and one was on sports injuries. So they were my first 3 books.
There you go. So this has been really insightful. People really need to understand a lot of these things. You know, there's so many different things that impact the body, and as you say, just putting tape over the check engine light doesn't really fix the engine. And sometimes the stuff that you may do can actually contribute things and make it worse. Give people your final pitch out to work with you, on board with you, your websites, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. So if anyone wants to contact me to find out more, probably the best website is bodychek.co.uk. That's bodychek, BODYCHEK. People can also contact me on Instagram. So that my handle on Instagram is actually the name of my podcast, which is Radical Health Rebel. Via my website, BodyCheck, people can request a consultation with me. happy to consult with anyone. I can consult with anyone pretty much anywhere in the world. There are some people that I might need to see them in person, and occasionally people do fly into the UK to see me. That's more if someone's in physical pain. That would normally be the case.
Yeah.
But a lot of the other conditions like acne and eczema and gut conditions, they don't need to travel at all often for those kind of issues.
There you go. There you go. So this has been super insightful, and we've got all your .coms in the can, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And this has been super insightful, Leigh. It's gut health and even mold and toxins people are exposed to that they need to get out of their systems. Sleeping well, that's an important factor. If you don't sleep, you don't heal. Your body doesn't reset itself. People really underestimate the value of sleep. So thank you very much for coming to the show. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
There you go. And thanks so much for tuning in. Check out the book, Eliminating Adult Acne for Good. Regain your self-esteem, confidence without wasting money on ineffective and harmful products. And it may teach you some other ways to improve your health and quality of health in so many different ways. It's all kind of connected, people, because it's your body and you're living inside it. At least some of you are. I don't know. Some of you are I don't know who's living inside your bodies, but that's your problem, not mine. Hey, guys, came out November 23rd, 2023. Thanks so much for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Foss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Foss, Chris Foss1 on the tickety-talkety. And as Kristen Butler says on LinkedIn, you've got to invest in yourself. So thank you, Kristen. Thanks so much for tuning in. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you guys next time.